A reptilian asked, "Who TF are you?" A chosen soul production. When lower consciousness confronts light. Chosen soul. You walked into a room and something ancient stirred. Something that operates from the base chakra, from survival mode, from the reptilian brainstem that controls fight or flight. And this energy looked at you, felt your frequency, sensed your light, and asked the only question lower consciousness knows how to ask when confronted with higher vibration: who the fuck are you? This wasn't curiosity. This was threat assessment. This was the primitive part of someone's psyche recognizing that you operate from different programming, that you move through reality with codes they don't have access to, that your presence disrupts the frequency they've been broadcasting. The reptilian brain doesn't understand light, it only understands dominance, territory, and survival, and your light just entered its territory. Understand what happened in that moment. This wasn't person-to-person interaction. This was consciousness-to-consciousness confrontation. The lower dimensional aspect of their being felt the higher dimensional aspect of yours, like shining a flashlight into a cave-dwelling creature's eyes. The light doesn't intend harm, but to something that's only known darkness, light is violence. If you are a glitch in their matrix and their mind control doesn't work on you, subscribe, and right here, type "I reject" in the comments. Let them know you are awake. You didn't do anything wrong, you simply existed at a frequency that their reptilian complex can't process. Your energy field, your aura, your vibrational signature, it radiates something their primitive brain interprets as danger, not because you're dangerous, because you're different. And to the reptilian brain, different equals threat, unknown equals enemy, higher vibration equals disruption to the low frequency comfort zone they've built. This is why they couldn't just ask who you are, they had to add the aggression, the profanity, the challenge. The reptilian brain expresses everything through power dynamics. It's either dominant or submissive, either predator or prey, either controlling or controlled. There's no third option in that part of consciousness. So when your light entered their space, their reptilian system defaulted to dominance display, like a threatened animal puffing up to look bigger. But here's what you need to understand from the metaphysical perspective. That question wasn't about you, it was about them. It was their unconscious asking itself, who am I that this person's presence makes me feel so unsettled? Who am I that I'm responding with aggression to someone who hasn't attacked me? Who am I that light triggers my darkness this intensely? You became their mirror, and mirrors show people what they've been avoiding looking at. Your high vibration reflected their low frequency back to them. Your peace highlighted their chaos. Your centeredness exposed their fragmentation. Your sovereignty revealed their submission to fear. The question they asked you was actually the question their soul was asking them, but it's easier to project that discomfort outward than face it internally. This is the burden of walking in higher consciousness. You trigger people without trying. Your existence is enough. Your presence is provocation, not because you're aggressive, because you're authentic, not because you're superior, because you're sovereign, not because you judge them, because your freedom highlights their bondage to conditioning they've mistaken for identity. Let's go deeper into the spiritual mechanics of what occurred. Every human has layers of consciousness. The highest layer connects to source, to cosmic awareness, to unity consciousness. The middle layers hold personality, ego, conditioning, belief systems. The lowest layer is pure survival programming, the reptilian complex: fight, flight, freeze, feed, fornicate, base instincts that kept us alive when we were prey, animals on the savannah. Most people are operating primarily from their lower and middle layers. Reptilian impulses dressed up in social conditioning, survival, strategies disguised as personality, fear-based reactions mistaken for authentic self-expression. They've never accessed their higher consciousness, don't even know it exists. So when you walk in operating from higher layers, their system doesn't have a reference point, can't categorize you, can't predict you, can't control you, and that activates primal threat response. The reptilian brain is scanning constantly. Who's predator? Who's prey? Who's competition? Who's ally? Where's the threat? Where's the resource? It's running these calculations unconsciously, automatically, constantly. Then you enter, and none of the categories fit. You're not posturing for dominance, so you're not predator, but you're not shrinking in submission, so you're not prey. You're not competing for resources, so you're not rival, but you're not seeking alliance, so you're not friend. The system malfunctions. When systems malfunction, they default to aggression. It's a reboot attempt. Aggression reestablishes hierarchy, recreates familiar power dynamics, restores the world to binary categories the reptilian brain can process. So the question, who the fuck are you, is actually a demand. It's saying, identify yourself in terms I can understand. Predator or prey, dominant or submissive, threat or resource. Tell me which box you fit in so I can know how to respond to you. But you don't fit in boxes, can't be categorized by binary consciousness, won't reduce yourself to reptilian terms. This is your power and their confusion. You operate from paradigms that transcend their either or thinking. You exist in the both and space. You hold paradox. You embody contradiction. You're strong and gentle, confident and humble, powerful and peaceful. Their dualistic mind can't process this, so it attacks what it can't compute. From the spiritual perspective, this encounter was a test, not from them, from the universe, from your higher self, from the path you're walking, because chosen souls must learn to hold their frequency in the presence of lower consciousness without being pulled down, must learn to remain centered when reptilian energy tries to provoke reaction, must master the art of being unmoved by aggression that's actually fear, wearing a mask. If you reacted with equal aggression, you failed the test, not morally, energetically, because matching reptilian energy means dropping to reptilian consciousness. Fighting with a pig means you both get dirty, and the pig likes it. Engaging with lower consciousness on its terms means abandoning higher ground. You can't raise frequency by lowering yours. But if you remained calm, centered, unshaken by their storm, you passed. Not because you're passive, because you're powerful. Real power doesn't need to prove itself. True strength doesn't respond to every challenge. Genuine sovereignty doesn't engage every provocation. The ocean doesn't fight with the wave. The mountain doesn't argue with the wind. You don't debate with someone operating 3 consciousness levels below where you're standing. This is where the metaphor gets interesting. Reptilian doesn't just mean aggressive, it means cold-blooded. Cold-blooded creatures can't regulate their own temperature. They depend on external heat. They're reactive to environment. Warm-blooded creatures generate heat internally. They're proactive with environment. This is the spiritual distinction between those operating from reptilian consciousness and those who've transcended it. Reptilian consciousness is cold-blooded spiritually, needs external validation to feel warm, requires outside approval to feel valued, depends on circumstances to determine mood, hot when praised, cold when criticized, reactive to every environmental shift, no internal temperature regulation, no sovereign relationship with self-worth, completely dependent on external conditions to feel okay. You operate from warm-blooded consciousness, generate your own spiritual heat, maintain internal temperature regardless of external climate. Don't need their approval to feel whole. Don't require their validation to know your worth. Don't depend on circumstances to maintain equilibrium. You're self-sustaining, self-regulating, sovereign. This threatens cold-blooded consciousness because it reveals what they lack: internal fire. The question, who the fuck are you, translates spiritually to, how are you generating heat I don't have access to? Where are you drawing power I can't locate? Why aren't you dependent on the same external sources I need to survive? Your self-sufficiency triggers their dependency. Your sovereignty exposes their submission. Your light reveals their addiction to darkness. An addiction doesn't respond well when the drug is threatened. Let's explore this from the perspective of energy bodies. You have 7 primary chakras, energy centers that process different frequencies. Root chakra at the base deals with survival, safety, physical needs. That's reptilian territory, the domain of fear, scarcity, territory. Most people are locked in their lower 3 chakras: root, sacral, solar plexus, survival, sexuality, power, the reptilian trinity. But you've activated your upper chakras: heart, throat, third eye, crown, love, truth, intuition, connection to source. This changes everything. You're no longer operating from fear-based consciousness, no longer making decisions from scarcity, no longer viewing life through survival lens. You've transcended the reptilian triad, and that's incomprehensible to someone still trapped there. When your activated heart chakra encounters their blocked one, there's a resonance mismatch, like trying to tune a radio to a station that doesn't exist on their dial. Your love frequency has no receiver in their fear-based operating system, so instead of receiving your transmission, their system interprets it as static, as noise, as threat. The question they asked came from a place that literally cannot perceive what you're broadcasting. This is why you can't explain yourself to reptilian consciousness, can't justify your existence to survival brain, can't defend your light to someone who's never left the cave. Plato understood this, the allegory of the cave. People chained in darkness watching shadows on walls, believing shadows are reality. Then someone escapes, sees the sun, returns to share the truth. The chained people attack them, call them crazy, reject the message because accepting it would mean admitting they're imprisoned. You're the escaped prisoner. You've seen the sun, experienced dimensions beyond the cave. You return radiating light they've never known, and their first response is aggression. Who the fuck are you? How dare you suggest there's more than this cave? How dare you imply we're chained? How dare your freedom highlight our bondage? The messenger gets attacked. The truth gets rejected. The light gets dimmed by those who prefer familiar darkness to unfamiliar illumination. But here's the paradox. Their aggression is actually their soul crying out for help. Reptilian brain may be attacking, but higher self is reaching. The anger is a shield protecting the wound. The profanity is armor hiding the vulnerability. The dominance display is compensation for feeling powerless. Underneath the who the fuck are you is really, please show me how you got free because I'm dying in these chains. This is the spiritual maturity test. Can you see the soul behind the ego? Can you perceive the wound beneath the weapon? Can you recognize that attack is often a call for healing disguised in hostile language? This doesn't mean you absorb their energy, doesn't mean you become their savior, doesn't mean you sacrifice your peace to manage their chaos, but it means you don't take their dysfunction personally. When someone operating from reptilian consciousness confronts you, they're not seeing you, they're seeing their own unhealed wounds, reflected in your wholeness. They're seeing their own untapped potential, reflected in your activation. They're seeing their own unexpressed divinity reflected in your embodiment. You're the mirror showing them what they could be if they were brave enough to evolve. And that reflection is unbearable. So they attack the mirror. Easier than facing what it reflects. Simpler than doing the work you did. Less painful than acknowledging the years they wasted staying small. The aggression isn't about you, it's about them. It's always about them. Every projection is confession. Every attack is autobiography. Every time they point at you saying who the fuck are you, they're really asking themselves who the fuck am I and why haven't I become it? Let's talk about the spiritual anatomy of the interaction. When two energy fields meet, there's an exchange. Frequencies interact. Vibrations either harmonize or clash. When your high-frequency field encounters their low-frequency field, several things can happen. They can rise to match your vibration. You can drop to match theirs. You can both meet in the middle. Or you can maintain separation, each holding your frequency while coexisting. Reptilian consciousness always tries to pull you down, can't rise up. That's the nature of lower vibration. It seeks equilibrium by dragging higher frequencies into its density. This is why being around angry people makes you angry. Being around anxious people makes you anxious. Being around reptilian consciousness makes you reactive. Unless you're anchored, unless you're rooted, unless you've cultivated such strong spiritual core that no external frequency can destabilize your internal truth. This is what they felt when you didn't react, when their provocation didn't work, when their aggression met your peace and shattered against it like waves against rock. They felt their power move fail, felt their manipulation bounce back, felt their attempt to control you result in them controlling nothing. This is terrifying to reptilian consciousness. Its entire toolkit failed. Now what? From the metaphysical perspective, You perform spiritual Aikido. Aikido doesn't meet force with force, it redirects energy, uses opponent's momentum against them, maintains center while allowing attack to flow past. This is high level consciousness work, meeting aggression with calm, encountering darkness with light, facing chaos with peace. Not as strategy, as authentic state of being. The guru doesn't argue with the student attacking them, doesn't engage the tantrum, doesn't defend against accusation, simply holds space, remains present, maintains frequency, knowing that the student's attack is their lesson, not the teacher's problem. The Dalai Lama smiles at aggression, not because he's weak, because he's beyond the game that aggression is playing. You're becoming this. This is your spiritual maturation. Now let's address the deeper metaphor. Reptilian consciousness isn't just about individuals, it's about systems, institutions, structures, corporations, governments, any organization operating primarily from survival mode, scarcity mindset, power over dynamics. The whole structure of modern society is largely reptilian, built on fear, maintained by competition, organized around hierarchy, survival of the fittest at systemic scale. You're threatening the system by refusing to participate in its frequency, by not playing the dominance game, by not competing for scraps, by not accepting scarcity as truth, by not submitting to hierarchy. Your sovereignty is sedition, your peace is rebellion, your light is revolution. The system asks, who the fuck are you? Because you're not following the program it installed in everyone else. This is why they can't categorize you, why HR doesn't know what box to put you in, why hierarchies don't know where you fit, why competitive frameworks can't account for someone who isn't competing. You broke their model, glitched their matrix, revealed the game is just a game. And that's unforgivable to systems that need you to believe the game is reality. If your frequency is too high for them to touch, type immune in the comments. Break their simulation. The corporate reptilian sees you and experiences cognitive dissonance. You're productive but not stressed, successful but not ruthless, confident but not arrogant, ambitious but not cutthroat. This doesn't compute in Shark Tank consciousness. Every category they have for understanding success requires stepping on others, but you're rising by lifting, winning by collaborating, succeeding by serving. The math doesn't work in their calculator. So they attack corporate passive aggression, institutional undermining, systemic obstacles, not because you're failing, because you're succeeding wrong. You're breaking rules they need everyone to follow. You're proving that empire can be built without exploitation, that wealth can be generated without greed, that power can be held without corruption. Your example threatens every justification they used for their compromise. From the ancient wisdom perspective, this is the perennial conflict. Buddha faced it, Jesus faced it, every enlightened being faced it. The confrontation between higher consciousness and entrenched lower consciousness. The system asked Buddha, who the fuck are you? When he left the palace, asked Jesus, who the fuck are you? When he challenged the money changers, always the same question, always the same threat, response to someone operating from beyond the matrix. The reptilian energy in religious institutions is particularly insidious, uses spiritual language, wears holy robes, quotes sacred texts, but operates from power, control, fear, builds hierarchies, demands submission, punishes deviation, calls it God's will when it's really ego's need for dominance. This is reptilian consciousness wearing a halo, still operating from lowest chakra while claiming to represent highest truth. You threaten this especially because you have genuine connection to source, not mediated by institution, not validated by hierarchy, not dependent on their authority. You access divine directly. This is heresy to reptilian religion. Who the fuck are you to have direct experience of God? Who are you to bypass our gatekeeping? Who are you to claim the divine is accessible without our permission? Your mysticism exposes their manipulation. But let's go even deeper into the spiritual meaning. The question itself, who the fuck are you, contains its own answer if you're willing to see it metaphysically. Who are you? You are consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. You are the universe in human form. You are source. energy temporarily localized in flesh. You are infinite being having finite experience. You are everything and nothing simultaneously. This is what they're sensing but can't articulate. Your presence reminds them of what they actually are underneath all the conditioning. Reminds them they're not just their fear, their job, their status, their survival strategies. Reminds them there's something vast beneath the small self they've mistaken for total identity. And this remembering is simultaneously beautiful and terrifying. Beautiful because it's true. Terrifying because accepting it means everything they built on false foundation collapses. So they attack the reminder, resist the awakening, fight the truth, ask aggressively instead of asking curiously. Who the fuck are you becomes a weapon instead of an invitation to genuine seeing. The tragedy is that, if they could soften the question, if they could approach with openness, instead of defense, they might actually receive the answer, might actually see themselves in you, might actually remember who they are. This brings us to your response. How do you answer reptilian consciousness when it demands to know who you are? You don't. Not directly, because answering in their language requires reducing yourself to their terms. Explaining light to someone who's never left darkness is futile. Describing color to someone who's only known grayscale is impossible. You don't answer the question. You embody the answer. You be the answer. You live the answer so completely that the question dissolves. Buddha didn't argue with Mara, didn't explain himself to the demon. Simply touched the earth, grounded in truth. Let reality speak through presence instead of engaging delusion through words. Jesus didn't debate with Pharisees, didn't defend divinity to those operating from dogma. Simply taught, healed, loved. Let the works testify to what words couldn't convey. This is spiritual mastery, answering who are you by being so fully yourself that the question becomes obsolete. Your presence is the answer, your peace in chaos, your clarity in confusion, your love in hate, your light in darkness. These aren't performances, these are emanations, natural radiation from someone who's done the inner work, who's integrated the shadow, who's healed the wounds, who's activated the codes, who's remembered the truth. You don't tell them who you are. You show them by being it so completely they can't miss it. And here's the spiritual paradox. The more completely you embody your truth, the more you trigger reptilian resistance, and simultaneously, the more you activate potential awakening. You become simultaneously most threatening and most helpful, most disturbing and most healing, most rejected and most needed. This is the path of the lightworker, the spiritual warrior. The conscious soul choosing to remain incarnate in density to anchor higher frequencies. Some will attack you for it. These are the ones still identified with reptilian programming, still believing they are their survival strategies, still trapped in egos need to dominate or submit. Let them attack. Their resistance is their process, their aggression is their growth edge. Their question, who the fuck are you, is their soul asking to be shown the way out. Even if their personality isn't ready to walk through the door you're holding open. Others will awaken through you, won't even know how or why. Just being in your presence will activate something dormant. Your frequency will tune their instrument. Your light will illuminate their path. Your peace will show them calm as possible. These are the ones ready for the next level. The souls who asked for a reminder before incarnating, who prayed for someone to show them the way. You're the answer to prayers they forgot they prayed. This is your purpose, not to convince reptilian consciousness it's wrong, not to fight lower vibrations, not to win arguments with ego, but to be so anchored in higher truth that your existence itself becomes teaching, to vibrate so clearly at your natural frequency that you give permission for others to find theirs, to shine so steadily that you remind people light is real even when darkness seems total. So when reptilian consciousness asks who the fuck are you, smile, not condescendingly, compassionately, because you remember when you were asking that same question, when you were threatened by others' light, because you hadn't found your own, when you attacked messengers because you weren't ready for the message, when you resisted truth because accepting it meant changing everything. You remember, so you hold space, maintain frequency, embody answer, trust process. And if you must speak, if silence isn't option, if the moment calls for words, The answer is simple. I am the same thing you are. Source energy, in form, consciousness experiencing itself, infinite being having, temporary human experience. The only difference is I remember. And that remembering is available to you too whenever you're ready to stop attacking it and start embracing it. That's who I am. That's who you are. That's who we all are underneath everything else. Welcome home. The encounter with reptilian consciousness is a sacred mirror. Every time it happens, you're being shown something about your own evolution. If their aggression triggers you, there's still reptilian energy in your system needing integration. If their question makes you defensive, there's still ego needing dissolution. If their challenge provokes reaction, there's still separation consciousness needing healing. They're your teachers disguised as antagonists. Your triggers are their gifts. This is the Guru's understanding. Everyone is Buddha. Everyone is Christ. Consciousness. Everyone is already enlightened. Some just forgot. Some are playing the game of forgetting so deeply they attack anyone who remembers. But underneath the attack is the longing to remember. Underneath the reptilian aggression is the divine essence waiting to be recognized. Your job isn't to judge the game they're playing. Your job is to see past the game to the player. When you see them this way, when you recognize source even in those operating from densest consciousness, something shifts, not necessarily in them, in you. Your perception transforms the perceived. Your blessing blesses you. Your compassion for their struggle liberates you from taking their struggle personally. You transcend the drama while still being present in it. You hold space without holding on to the energy. This is advanced spiritual work. This is what separates the awakened from the woke. The woke see the problem and fight it. The awakened see the problem and transcend it. The woke meet reptilian consciousness with righteous anger. The awakened meet it with radical compassion. Not passive acceptance, not spiritual bypassing, but genuine recognition. That hurt people, that unconscious beings behave unconsciously, that sleeping souls act out dreams they think are reality. From the karmic perspective, these encounters are predetermined. Soul contracts playing out. You agreed before incarnating to be the mirror for certain souls, to trigger their awakening through your presence. 2. Hold frequency for their potential evolution. They agreed to challenge you, to test your peace, to verify your embodiment, to ensure you're not just spiritually conceptualizing but actually living the consciousness you claim. So when reptilian consciousness appears in your path asking who the fuck you are, recognize the sacred contract. This is the universe checking your homework. This is source asking, are you truly centered or just performing centeredness? Are you genuinely peaceful or just avoiding conflict? Are you authentically sovereign or just spiritually arrogant? The aggression is the test. Your response reveals the answer. The metaphor extends into collective consciousness. Every generation has reptilian institutions asking who the fuck are you? To the emerging consciousness. Industrial age asking agricultural consciousness. Digital age asking industrial consciousness. Now quantum consciousness emerging, asking information age. Each new paradigm threatens existing power structures. Each evolution activates resistance from those invested in old models. You're part of quantum consciousness emergence. You think beyond binaries, hold paradox, navigate complexity, operate multidimensionally. This terrifies linear thinking, threatens binary systems, exposes limitations of either or paradigms. The institutions built on old consciousness ask who the fuck are you because you don't fit their models, don't operate by their rules, don't submit to their logic. You're proof the old world is ending. This makes you dangerous, not because you're violent, because you're different, not because you're destructive, because you're creative in ways that make destruction of old forms inevitable. Your very existence, as someone who transcended reptilian consciousness, is evidence that transcendence is possible, that evolution is available, that the current system isn't ultimate reality. This truth is revolutionary, and revolutions make power nervous. But here's the spiritual secret: the power asking who the fuck are you isn't actually powerful. It's terrified. Real power doesn't need to ask aggressive questions. True sovereignty doesn't challenge others. Sovereignty, genuine strength, doesn't feel threatened by different strength. The aggression is compensation. The challenge is insecurity. The question is fear dressed in dominance display. You're witnessing weakness pretending to be strength. When you understand this, compassion becomes natural, not pity. Compassion. Pity says I'm above your suffering. Compassion says I recognize your suffering because I've known suffering. Pity maintains separation. Compassion honors connection. Pity looks down. Compassion sees across. You can meet reptilian consciousness with compassion because you remember when you operated from that level, before your awakening, before your healing, before your evolution. This remembering is crucial. Spiritual amnesia makes you arrogant, makes you judge those still sleeping when you've only been awake a few moments. Yourself makes you forget the grace that awakened you wasn't earned, wasn't deserved, was gifted, was received, was allowed. You didn't wake yourself up. Something woke you. Someone held space for your awakening. Now you hold space for others. This is the cycle, the spiral, the way consciousness evolves. From the Vedic perspective, this is Lila, divine play, consciousness, playing hide and seek with itself, pretending to forget so it can remember, creating separation so it can experience reunion, manifesting as many so it can discover itself as one. The reptilian consciousness, challenging you as source in disguise, wearing mask of aggression, playing role of antagonist, testing whether you can see God in all forms, even hostile ones. This is the ultimate spiritual test. Can you love what appears unlovable? Can you bless what seems to curse you? Can you see divinity in density? Can you recognize light in those broadcasting darkness? If yes, you've transcended duality. If no, you're still caught in the game of good versus evil, enlightened versus unenlightened, us versus them. There is no them. There's only us wearing different costumes, playing different parts, exploring different aspects of the infinite. The Buddhist teaches this through Tunblen, breathing in suffering, breathing out peace, taking on the darkness of others and transmuting it through your own consciousness, returning light. This isn't martyrdom. This is alchemy. You're not absorbing their poison and dying from it. You're processing their lead and returning gold. You're evolved. Consciousness is the philosopher's stone, transforming lower vibrations into higher ones through contact with your being. When reptilian consciousness meets you asking, "Who the fuck are you?" you're being offered opportunity. Breathe in their aggression. Feel it fully. Don't resist it. Don't reject it. Let it enter your space. Then, transmute it through your heart chakra, through your activated consciousness, through your connection to source. Breathe out peace. Return blessing. Transform the energy. This is practical spirituality. This is applied mysticism. This is what it means to be in the world but not of it. The Sufi tradition speaks of becoming polish for the mirror. Every encounter is opportunity to polish your reflection of the divine. Reptilian consciousness is coarse sandpaper, rough, abrasive, uncomfortable, but effective at removing the tarnish from your mirror. Every aggressive question they ask polishes away more of your ego, more of your defensiveness, more of your need to prove yourself, until what remains is just clear reflection, pure witness, consciousness aware of itself through form. This is why spiritual masters thanked their enemies, not because they enjoyed conflict, because they recognized enemies as teachers. Every person who challenged them polished their mirror. Every attack removed tarnish. Every confrontation revealed what still needed healing. The enemy isn't opposition to your growth. The enemy is essential to your growth. Without resistance, no strength develops. Without darkness, light has no context. Without reptilian consciousness, higher consciousness has no contrast. So bless them, not superficially, authentically. Bless the reptilian consciousness that challenges you. Thank the aggression that tests you. Honor the questions that force you deeper into your truth. They're serving you even when it doesn't feel like service. They're teaching you, even when they think they're attacking you. They're helping you evolve, even while they're operating from devolution. This is the cosmic joke, the divine irony, the spiritual paradox you can only appreciate from higher perspective. And here's the final teaching, the final integration, the ultimate recognition. When someone asks, "Who the fuck are you?" they're also asking themselves. The question is always mutual, always reciprocal, always mirror, because in consciousness, There is no separation between questioner and questioned, between challenger and challenged, between them and you. There's only awareness experiencing itself through temporary appearance of division. So the answer to who the fuck are you is ultimately who the fuck are you, not as counterattack, as invitation to mutual recognition, as reminder that we're asking the same question from different sides of the mirror, as acknowledgement that this entire encounter is consciousness, trying to remember itself through conversation with itself. They're you. You're them. The reptilian aspect they're broadcasting is the same reptilian aspect you integrated. The higher consciousness you embody is the same higher consciousness waiting dormant in them. This is non-duality lived, not philosophized, lived, embodied, demonstrated through how you respond when reptilian consciousness appears. Do you maintain separation or recognize unity? Do you judge the expression or see the essence? Do you react from ego or respond from soul? Your answer in that moment reveals your actual consciousness level, not what you believe, not what you've studied, what you've actually integrated, what you actually are when tested. So walk forward knowing, next time reptilian consciousness asks who the fuck you are, you'll smile inside, because you'll recognize the sacred play, the divine test, the consciousness checking consciousness, and you'll respond not with words necessarily, but with being, with presence, with frequency that speaks louder than explanation. You'll answer the question by being the answer so completely that the question dissolves into the truth it was always pointing toward. You are source. They are source. This encounter is source meeting itself. Namaste. The divine in me honors the divine in you, even when you've forgotten your divine, especially then. Asterisk, you've broken their mind. Now learn how to rewrite it. To master your reality hacking skills, click the video on your screen right now.